Welcome to Starting From Zero, the podcast where we talk with social media creators to hear their stories of why they started their accounts, how they built an audience, and how they turned their passion into their career. Everyone starts with zero. In this episode, I speak with filmmaker, marketing consultant, and YouTuber Katie Stowe. I came across Katie's content in the No Small Creator Facebook group, where members of the content creator community interact with other like-minded people online. Katie has been very supportive as I continue to build on the idea for the Starting From Zero project. She's even a supporter of another project of mine called Traveling Perspectives, so I'm excited to get to talk with her outside of social media.
Hello.
Hey, Katie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to meet you.
Cool. Yeah, this is such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Wow. So awesome.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I've been super appreciative of you've been somebody who's been sending me some support through my DM. So I really appreciate you, watching and checking it out. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been great. It's so fun to have that kind of platform and just that kind of style of videos. I just put it on in the background and it's great to just listen to everybody's ideas. It's awesome.
Oh, that's really cool. Which ones have you checked out?
Yeah, so I love I haven't watched all of your new ones. I love the idea of starting from zero. I think that's really, really cool. I like how you've moved it over and
Yeah.
I think it's a fresh new look. I really like it. So I watched the latest one that you put out and then I watched yours. So I'm going to watch the other ones as I go. But I've watched a lot of the perspective ones, so it's really cool.
Oh, are you talking about Traveling Perspectives?
So Traveling Perspectives, I've watched some of them, and then Starting From Zero, I've watched some of them, so it's so cool.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, it's been a whole, process to find. I'm just trying to taste different things and, see what I'm interested in, and I feel like I'm learning a lot through doing, which is, very cool. So that's awesome. That I appreciate you watching and checking it out.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah, I saw you in the No Small Creator. You guys did that first video during the pandemic of different perspectives.
Yeah, we did Apartment United.
Nice. Do you want to talk about how that kind of came to be?
Yeah. So obviously COVID stuff had been going on and it pretty much just started and a bunch of us in the group kind of got together and Nitkin, he was the one that started it and kind of came up with the idea and some of us just jumped on board and it became this very intimate group and we still stay in touch and it's so cool.
Oh, cool.
But it really just developed into this really cool idea and every week there was a different editor, which was crazy. Okay. So it had a different feel every time. And it was an awesome experience. We all had a lot of fun doing it and we'll probably do little other things in the future, but cool. Yeah, it was a really neat experience. So
nice. Yeah, I watched the first one, but how many did you guys end up making?
I believe we ended up making 6 or 7.
Wow, very cool.
Something like that. So it was definitely a lot of work and a lot of effort that we put into, but we felt like we didn't have a huge audience, but we felt like the people that were watching was they were so impacted and felt like it was such a cool idea. And so
that's the whole thought process behind No Small Creator, right? So
exactly. So we were not afraid of a small group. We just had a lot of fun doing it. So it was
very
great.
Cool. Were there different themes for each episode, or what was what was the process?
It was a work in progress for sure because we started very sporadically and just kind of putting in stuff, and then we thought, okay, guys, we need to try to make this a little bit more thoughtful about kind of going off of each other's ideas. So the editor would pick a theme every week and we'd talk about it and we'd actually have Zoom meetings beforehand.
Okay.
And so we could the last few episodes we put a lot of thought and a lot of work into them. And so we found that they grew and kind of morphed into something really cool as we ended it. So it was good.
Yeah. What about the one that you edited? What was your theme?
Yeah. So I believe my theme, I should have remembered it. I believe my theme was, what is it like in different places? Because we were all talking about it was so different in different countries. It was amazing.
That's what I
Like
liked about the first
Australia,
episode. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
like Africa. I mean, like everybody was experiencing totally different things. And so we were all sharing our perspective from that. And there were different themes, like we talked about emotional, like what's this doing emotionally? We talked about so many different kinds of things. And I had so much fun editing. It was a lot of work because you're literally taking everybody's clips that are different and different styles of filming and everything and putting them together. But it was really cool. It was neat how like the themes kind of progressed and we got better at doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Do you find that like editing is one of your favorite things about content creation, or like?
Yeah, I mean, it started that way. I
Mhm.
I actually started editing when I was in middle school,
Okay.
and we had like a 2000 and something version of Windows Movie Maker, and that's
Hmm.
how I started. I didn't start with a camera, I started editing. And I just put
Interesting.
things together. So I've had a lot of experience doing it. I'm good at it, but I like coming up with the ideas more now that I do it consistently,
Hmm.
way better than the editing.
Interesting.
So
That's a
kind of amorphous.
cool path to like start that way and then find your passion in all of it. Truly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we get too far into it, for anybody who may not know who you are, or what you're up to on the internet, who are you, and what are you doing?
Yeah. So my name is Katie, and I run a business. I am a content creator, and I have a YouTube channel, my own personal YouTube channel, and it's all about powerful storytelling and how to be a better communicator through video. But we really focus on the content and not so much all the numbers and the analytics, everything that a lot of people are focusing on. I really try to focus on our mentality when we're creating content, because I think that has a lot to do with the kind of content we create. Um, so I focus a lot on our habits, our behaviors, our mentality about things, confidence, those types of things. I talk a lot about um, just being a better content starts with you being better, and people will see that, and people will see the energy when you're excited about it. And I've grown a lot. I've done a lot of different YouTube stuff for different people, but this year is the first year that I've actually jumped into the pool and done it for
Mm.
myself consistently. And I've grown so much during that process. So kind of the mentality of my YouTube channel is I'm kind of a step ahead everybody, but I'm sharing along with my audience on like what I'm learning as I'm growing. So
Nice.
yeah.
Why did you decide to start creating for yourself?
It's going to sound so weird, but it was kind of like a personal dare,
Mm.
because in high school, like I'm the type of person, I have so many interests and so many hobbies. And like, if you asked me like, what's your favorite thing to do? You'd have to stop this because it would be so
Hmm.
long. And so in high school, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I started with filmmaking because, you know, my siblings and I would make short films and stuff, and I was really intrigued by it. But I didn't want to go to Hollywood. And all the teachers were like, you should be wanting to go to Hollywood and that's how you'll make it, right? Like that should be your goal, that type of filmmaking.
Mm.
And so I dropped out. I was like, a lot of this I'm learning on my own anyway. Why am I spending money and time doing this? And then I just kind of got stuck. And there were lots of other things that I tried to do. So I finally just said, okay, I hit the pause button on college, and I got a job with a nonprofit with some family friends that we know, doing like media and website development and like
Mm.
content creation. And I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. And then it all kind of clicked. All the things that I was interested in and all the things I had spent time doing morphed into this idea of starting a YouTube channel. And it wasn't that simple. It was a lot of back and forth discussion with myself because I was scared to do it, and I'd
Right.
never done it for myself. So it was kind of like a personal dare. I was like, I want to do this, but I know I'm going to fail.
Hmm.
And so I'm just going to dare myself. Like, if you can stay consistent to do it, then you've already won. If you can just, like, consistency was my biggest hurdle and it was my biggest focus. Staying consistent, doing videos. And I started by doing videos twice a week. I don't know why I started that. Like, why
Right.
not once a month or once a week?
Sure.
But
Ambitious to
I
start
stay,
off. Yeah.
yeah, like, but like it worked and I kept on doing it. And then I loved doing it more and more. And I wanted to learn more about my camera because I spent a lot of money on it. And I was like, you know what? I really need to focus on this because I think this could go somewhere. And so I'm just growing ever since. But that's kind of how it started.
Nice. And so what were those like first videos that you were making? Were they the same that you're making today, or are they?
No.
Okay.
So I was really nervous to start. Obviously, a lot of people are. And my first instinct was, I need to do something safe. And that wasn't like my mentality necessarily, but subconsciously, that's what I was telling myself. And so I started doing like video editing tutorials because I was good at editing. I'd spent all this time doing editing. Cool. I'll do video editing tutorials. So I did like special effects and like just like basics on how to edit, all that type of stuff. And I got so bored doing it.
Really?
It's not that I don't love doing it, but putting a video out on how to do it, if I never make a tutorial video again, I would be happy. So
that's so interesting that you said that, because I recently just talked to the creators behind MethodBox, if you know that YouTube channel.
That sounds really familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were saying the same thing, like they're trying to figure out their niche, and tutorials were because it just felt natural, like as filmmakers, to go that route if you're trying to build a business online and through YouTube. Yeah. And they said the exact same thing, that they were just like, they couldn't see themselves doing it, 5-10 years down the line.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, it wasn't fulfilling for them.
It's definitely a different game editing versus showing people how to edit. There's so many extra steps. You got to do like screenshot video, like screen records. There's so many voiceovers. It's like, it's so time consuming, and it made me lose my joy of editing.
Really?
And so I thought, hold up, like I can't do this consistently. And so honestly, my family has been amazing through this, because when I first started, I talked to my mom about it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I have a closer relationship with my mom. We talk about a lot of stuff.
Oh, same.
She's like, I don't know, like this sounds kind of interesting, but just go with it. Like I just have a million and one interests. She never knows if they're going to last or not. I don't know if they're going to last or not.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but I like more and more talking to the people who knew me best made me realize that I needed to do more from the heart stuff, and like more about the content and why I love it so much and why I feel like it's impactful, instead of the post. Like, what do you do after you've made it? You know what I mean?
Right. That's interesting. And so what did you transition into making videos about?
Yeah. So it kind of, everybody's like, got to find your niche, right?
Sure.
And I knew it needed to be something communication, because I've spent a lot of time doing public speaking, and I took a lot of public speaking classes, and it's just something that I've been good at and something I enjoy. So I wanted it to be like, because so many people are scared to start YouTube because they don't think that they can sit in front of a camera, right? That's like the thing that everybody gets nervous about. But I didn't know exactly what to do, and it kind of morphed into perspectives. That's one of the things that has changed me the most, and that's why I resonated with you, because you were talking about perspectives, and I was like, this is so definitely cool. But like, so much of uniqueness in the content we create is our perspective. That's something that no one can take away from us, and it's something that is unique to us.
Yeah.
And one of the parts of my story that is very unique is I was born with a lot of disabilities. So I don't have hands, and I've had a lot of hip surgeries. I have a lot of my body is falling apart. And so that's something that I've had to deal with, and a lot of people in my position would feel disabled, right? They would feel like they can't do the stuff they need to do. And partly just my personality, like a go-getter, and my family and my faith, like there's so many things that have like just pushed me forward. And so I knew that needed to be a component of my channel. I needed to be brave enough to really share what I wanted to share and what I knew I was meant to share, instead of just the surface stuff. Because no one gets super excited about the surface stuff if they don't feel like you have the energy for it. Some people are super passionate about editing. I'm not one of those people, and people knew that. So once I shifted over to more like perspectives and content, the actual content and communication, people really felt the energy, and then my channel started to grow.
Well, that's big, like to what has that process been like for you to like realize how perspective, like what perspective means to you? I think because that's really interesting to me because, we all have our own, literally we all have our own journeys and our own perspective on finding that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what was that like for you to find out, to realize that?
Yeah. That's a good question. For me, I think a lot of it had to do with my disability. Like, my disability isn't me. Like, I am more than my disability, obviously.
Yeah.
But one of the cool parts about being born differently is that you see the world differently automatically because everybody sees you differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like, so many people are so quick to be offended when you bring up anything about disability, and particularly in this day and age. And so I've learned to run with that instead of hide it or pretend it doesn't exist, because it's a part of who
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Yeah.
And people are so impacted by that. Like, when they see someone who's not what they expect doing what they wouldn't expect to do, you know what I mean? Like, I play
Mm-hmm.
piano and I do art, and like there's so many things that I do that it's like, what? That doesn't make sense. So
Right.
a lot of it has to do with that, just having that perspective of like, how can I make this work?
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of rolled into the content I created, whether that was art to start or music or editing, content creation. It's always brought me to a place of, how can I make this me? How can I make
Mm-hmm.
this unique? How can I make this something that I'm excited about? And that's kind of
Yeah.
what shaped like the channel and just who I am.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can see you bringing that to what you're making, which is very cool. I feel like the first like instinct that people want to say when I hear like something like that is like
Yeah.
uh, like your attitude is inspirational for others. But what's your relationship with being like told that you're an inspiration when it's like just you living your life?
Yeah. So there's a big difference between like congenital deformity and like trauma deformity, when people actually know what it's like to be normal. And so people often ask me, how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually the wrong question, because this is normal for me. So you're exactly
Right.
right. You're going right to the right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask that because they're thinking from their perspective. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that. They couldn't play piano with just like with no hands because they
They've only
have hands.
experienced life the way that they have. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the wrong question, but that means when I get those questions, I know what people actually mean. And that's
Right.
okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know because they don't know what it's like for me. Like, it goes the other way around. So I
Yeah.
try to approach those times with a lot of grace, because people just don't know what it's like to be me, and that's okay. And then
Sure.
also realize that I have a platform that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool, and I am impacting people, and I can impact people, and that's a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know personally people that would be offended and are offended by people constantly bringing it up or things. But I just choose to run with it because I think it's something that's actually a good tool.
I think that's a good way to look at it. And I tend to, or I'm trying to have like less, maybe it's cynical, but like have less expectations of people, because then, like if you don't have those expectations of how others are supposed to act,
Yeah.
then you like what maybe you like won't be let down, or um, I don't know, people are, you like won't be surprised how somebody acts, like however they are. Like I feel more analytical in that
Yeah.
way a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what
No,
I'm
I,
trying to
I,
say, but
I get, no, I get that. Cause like, one of the things that I've had to learn over time, and there's been times in my life where it's been harder than others, but
mhm,
one of the things that I've had to learn is that, just like I have my own perspective, other people have their own perspectives.
yeah,
And if I'm going to be like recognizing that, hey, like this is how I feel, then I also have to be willing to recognize that other people feel differently. And that's a hard lesson to learn, because sometimes we don't think about it, or we don't want to think about it, depending on the situation.
yeah,
But it's important, particularly when you're creating content. You have to understand, how is this going to resonate with other people? Like, I know how I feel about something, and I know the energy that I'm like excited about this topic.
Right.
But how are other people going to feel about it, and
They could
how is it going to
interpret
resonate?
whatever way they like. Once
Exactly.
you, I mean, yeah, I guess it's like anything with art. Like once you make it and put it on the world, it's up for interpretation for
Oh
whoever's
yeah. And that's the
like
beauty
looking
of
at it.
art in general,
Hmm.
because and I had a discussion in college. I had a little bit of a debate with a fellow classmate because he was
Hmm.
talking about like art should be interpreted the way the artist has interpreted it. And I'm like, that takes away the beauty of art, because like it resonates with everyone differently. And that's why it's powerful, because everyone can relate in a different way. And it's kind of hands off. Like once you create something, it's the same for YouTube. Once you create something, people are going to take it for what
It's
it
out there.
is.
Yeah.
You're done. You know what I mean? You
Right.
move on to the next thing.
Hmm.
So you kind of have to learn to let it go and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. And so how have you been like implementing all these kind of principles into your content that you're making today?
Yeah. I embrace the 1% rule very
Hmm.
strongly. Um, I can be a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm not like that way about everything, but about content I am, and about editing in particular. Um, and so over time, making it sustainable, you have to like get a process down, and you have to learn to let things go. And
Hmm.
so part of that 1% rule is I know the things I don't like about my content, or I know the things that I need to get better about. You just work towards that a little bit of it at a time, and
Hmm.
you make more progress that way. Because if you're trying to fix everything all at once, you're never going to get anywhere, because it's never going to
Yeah.
be the way you actually want it. And then I'm
Right.
trying to teach that and have that energy and have that mentality resonate with my audience too. And that's been the thing that I've been most excited about my YouTube channel, is that the things that I'm learning, I'm getting to share with people. And then it's personal, it's intimate. They understand like I'm dealing with this right now, and that's why this makes sense. That's why like I'm excited about this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's been one of the things that I've been most excited about with just the
That's
channel.
awesome.
And yeah.
Yeah. Have you found, I guess I'm curious, like how you found No Small Creator and Cody's content in the first place. Do you remember when that was?
Yes.
Okay.
um so like we were all watching Peter McKinnon, right? Like everybody was fans of like the cinematic B-roll and stuff, and I was too, because that's the editor in me, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I wanted it to look like that. But then on my YouTube feed, like Cody showed up. And this was like before I even started YouTube. And I was
Hmm.
kind of thinking about it, getting ready to, dabbling in it a little bit, prepping.
Do you
And then I
remember
saw
what the
Cody
video
stuff.
was by chance?
Um, no, I don't. All
Mm.
of his like like they all kind of like are together for me, because they're all so inspirational, and I just feel like they're all like just going off of each other. I
Hmm.
listen to them and watch them in a playlist. So they
Really? Okay, cool.
yeah. Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but it just resonated with me because he had so much energy, and yet his stuff wasn't perfect, and he didn't want it to be, and like that's the beauty of it. Like he was
Hmm.
growing, and it was early on. I know it was an early on video, and so I just remember watching him do it and saying like, if he can do this and make this work, then I can do it. And that's just the power of like Cody's just amazing that way. He just like the energy comes out of the screen into you, right?
Yeah, right.
And I didn't actually join No Small Creator until I think it was like May or June.
Okay.
I think it was like May. And I was trying to just like do it myself. And I had this
Of last year or
of this year.
this year?
Of
Oh,
this year.
wow.
Yeah.
Great. Okay,
So I just
crazy.
started doing it this year.
Yeah.
And like I I don't know, like I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And
Hmm.
he's so great. I like DM'd him on Instagram, and he responded, and he's like, you should join the group and blah, blah, blah. And so I found the group and I joined. And that was really the first moment that I realized like I'm not in this alone.
Hmm.
And that's how I met with Apart But United, and really got to know other people that were doing it too, and kind of the struggles, and all of us just kind of sharing those things. And
Yeah.
it was at that moment that I was just like, I can do this, but I can't do this alone. I can't keep on pushing by myself. I've got to have other people to encourage,
Right.
and to, encourage me, kind of that reciprocal experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's mind blowing.
Right. Community, I am finding is like huge. And I think everybody is searching for it. And like this creator journey can get kind of lonely when you're like working by yourself and like it's just you. And I definitely am like one of those people that's looking for who my people are, and like they typically like haven't been in my daily life. Like I like for a long time I was like insecure about telling people about what I was like really into, because scary, you know, judgment is a pretty big one for sure. And
YouTube syndrome, right?
yeah. And that's been like a whole journey for me to like find the confidence to even start. And like once I actually did find that, like I think it was just more of like a, I can remember it was like more like a fuck it like moment, like you know, like if I don't do it now, then I'll never do it. Then I need to stop. Like I need to stop just talking and put some action behind what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely like a wake up moment kind of thing, is when you hit that point where you're like, I can't do it the way I'm doing it right now forever. I can't even hardly do it for another week. I've got to find a way to make this work. And that was really the point I got at. I was like, I'm not seeing any growth. I'm not loving this. I feel alone. And like my family's been really great, but I'm really the only techie, artsy, like total nerd. Like I'm the one that loved it, and no one else knew really how to help me. And my friends weren't really into it, didn't really want to be a part of it. And so it was always, ever since I started filmmaking, I was always doing it by myself. And I always felt this really big, it almost felt like that was the disability, was like having that mentality that I was doing it on my own.
It's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. Like, and I think like we all have those things. And for those who watch this and are thinking about doing YouTube and aren't sure, like your brain is the real disability. Like for anyone, physical disability, mental disability, like it's the mental. That's what really, that's where the game goes, because
that's the struggle. Yeah.
Like
the
it's
grind.
all in the head. You just got to like get over it and find your people, and they are there.
That's like one of my main goals with this, is like to talk to creative people and hear their process of building an audience and like how they did it for themselves. One, because I'm curious about how to do it, because I want to do it. And so I'm trying to pick up different tips from different people, but hopefully there's somebody who's listening and hasn't started and like is looking for the confidence to do it themselves. Like that would be like amazing if that's what like this project was truly about.
So cool. Yeah.
And so for the community that like you've built around your videos, like how do you foster community or relationships with your audience?
So when we're talking about growth, initially I was so consumed by the numbers, and I think you just have to expect that. Like if you're starting a YouTube channel, like that is going to happen, and like get over it and then move on. Like it's just going to happen. But it was really, I'm kind of like part creative and part analytical. My brain works that way. It's kind of weird, but I was just getting stuck in the numbers. And I was thinking, like when I first started YouTube, I was focused on like, okay, monetization, right? We're all focused on that. And so it's like, when can I make money off of this? When can I make this sustainable? And so when I first started, it would have taken me 30 years to get monetized. Like at the rate I was going, that's how long it would take.
It's like you sign your mortgage.
Well, who knows when that'll get paid, right? So, and when I stopped focusing on the numbers and started focusing on the content, and like my heart was in it, and I really was sharing what was from my heart, people resonated with that, and there was way more interaction, there was way more views, there was way more, like some of that is just figuring out the game of like marketing, and that's a total thing. But really once I started like not focusing on the numbers and like just getting over that, I started getting more interaction. And then it was so easy to talk to people, and it was so easy to comment and like actually have off YouTube conversations with people who were so blessed by the content I was making. And I was like, what even in the world? Like, what is going on? And it just kind of exploded into this crazy thing. And so when people ask me like, oh, like how many subscribers do you have? that's what they think the success is. That's where they think the value is. And I know that instantaneously when they ask that, that's what they're thinking.
Right.
And so when I tell them, oh, I have like 125 subscribers, they're like, oh. But I think most of the growth that actually happens, particularly like that first year, and that's what I'm finding, it happens in you as the creator. You figure out where you are and what your role is in this huge, big world. And then you start realizing like, oh, okay, I can do this. I need to make this sustainable. I need to take this seriously, but I can do this and I'm going to grow.
Amazing. Yeah, I can, there's always going to be those kinds of people that are like they value data and numbers as success.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to, definitely not to be that. Like I don't value that. And so what have you found like your process of finding what you value? What's that been like?
Yeah. Good question. So like as I've grown as a person and a content creator, even just like I've been doing YouTube now for like 7-8 months. It feels like way longer than that. And it also feels like I just started yesterday, which is a great feeling because like the energy is there and also just learning is there and figuring stuff out. But one of the things that I've learned with holding value in things, oftentimes when we're trying to figure out, okay, we want to complete this goal. We want to get to this goal. We factor in like the time and the energy and all, like we factor in all that, but we never factor in the growth that happens during the process. And that's a huge deal because just like at the beginning of YouTube, when it would take me 30 years to get to monetization, now in like 6-7 months, it'll take me 7 years. So like when you look at the math, it helps you figure out what actually is important, but you have to look at it the right way. So I wasn't quite off with the analytics. It wasn't like the analytics or the numbers aren't important, but what they do is they point you in the right direction. So they say, you're doing the right thing. You're moving in the right direction. So when we're talking about what I value growth more than anything else in the world. I value growth. And if I'm not going to, if next year it's onto something else and I'm not doing YouTube anymore, who cares? Because I've grown so
Personal
much during
growth,
this process.
not your
Exactly.
channel growth.
Like just doing that has been huge. And then the channel growth will happen. It's inevitable because if you're always growing and you're always learning and you're always applying it, then it's inevitable. The growth will happen. People will see that. Your content gets better. You get better as a person, like, and that's what has to happen. But oftentimes we don't think about that as like the real trick to success, whatever people identify that as.
Yeah. I think maybe you don't figure that out until you're actually in it. And doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know we just talked about not caring about the numbers, but just out of like curiosity, have you found the people who are subscribing to your channel are a part of No Small Creator already, or are they just being recommended your videos? Or
yeah, so I don't think I have a lot of people. So with No Small Creator, I love No Small Creator. I can get easily consumed by all of the posts and all of the tech, and everybody says that. Like, there's posts always that come up, but I think people are like losing the perspective of No Small Creator, like
the
the
purpose of its beginning.
Yeah. Like the vision that Cody had initially, it's still there. You just have to find your people within the group. Not everybody is going to be your people. So like obviously we have our hub from Apart But United, and so we're all subscribed to each other's channels and stuff. Other than that, I don't think there's been a lot of like moving from like No Small Creator to like my group necessarily, but I'm just finding like just random people. Actually, I've had mostly random people subscribe to my channel, which actually is kind of cool because I always thought like, well, it's only gonna be my family members that subscribe to my channel. But people are actually finding me, which is really exciting and really cool because I'm getting that network from outside. Yeah. It's kind of a little bit dorky right now because I have this one video, of course, right? I got this one video. It's a laptop review and it's doing so well right now. It's like ranked. It has like 5 #1 ranked keywords or whatever. And so everybody like that gets so many views a day. And so I have like a bunch of subscribers from that. But the only trick is like they may not like the rest of my content. So I have this like, well, it kind of like fluctuates a little bit, but I've been getting a lot of growth in the last couple months.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Are you podcasting as well? Like your microphone is super cool. So
yeah, I've done a little bit of podcasting on the channel. Me and my best friend did a little bit because we're both like techie people. So we're talking about that. Okay. Nothing too much with that. I do a lot of live streams. I've worked in audio for so long. So I know, audio is one of those areas that I'm just like, that needs to be so important. Right. So you probably get that with podcasts. It's like, it's key.
Well, I've been working on like being committed and then investing in my gear once I had like proven to myself that I am committed to it. So I just recently hopped on Amazon and like bought a microphone and it's I was just using like random $10 headphones from Walgreens before until I like proved to myself like I'm doing this.
Matter like how much it is, you're just like, yes, it's an upgrade, it's so
right cool. Exactly. Yeah, like I got my little setup, like I'm good to go for a while now. Okay, so and then you said you're in audio and business for a while, so like can you talk about your business and what you do for work?
So I last year, I gotta get my dates right. Last year I started a part-time job with a nonprofit, knew the owners really well, and that was my first opportunity out of college to be taken seriously, because I'd had a lot of volunteer things, but it's a different feeling even when you're actually getting paid for your work. That's a big deal. And so basically like my job description was, we don't have time to learn these things. We're paying you to learn these things and implement them. And I'm like, that is the best job ever. Okay. Like they're paying you to learn and figure this out for them.
Right.
So I built their website and I handle their socials and I handle all of their back end inventory, all of that type of thing. But that got my feet wet with like marketing and business and content creation and consulting and that type of stuff. And I've always wanted to start my own business. Wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And then this year I thought, okay, I know what I need to do. So my business is called StoryCube, and it really is a marketing, consulting, and production company. And mostly what I do is I consult and help people with marketing and creating content. My focus is getting people to create their own content. There are a lot of production companies out there that will say, give us the money and we'll make it for you. But I want people to make it for them because I see the power and the growth that happens when you do that for yourself. And I think it's way more powerful when people actually learn the skills they need to implement what they're inspired to tell. And so that's kind of the premise of the business. And it just launched in the end of June, early July. So it's very, very new, but I've been meeting with a lot of people and getting a lot of good feedback. So I'm super excited for where that goes. And that's kind of been kind of a culmination of so many different interests and so many different skill sets. I did audio. I volunteered for many, many years for my church and learned in depth, like for 2 summers, like every Wednesday, every Thursday, I'd go in and like learn like live production. And so that has helped me have that mentality that like you do things with excellence, and you lose a little bit of that when you're doing video because you can just say, oh, I can just record this over again. And so I'm so glad that I experienced live first before I started YouTube, because it's helped me like streamline my process and take my time seriously instead of spending hours and hours and hours doing things and saying I can do that again. That's kind of where that's come from, but yeah.
Nice. So when you're like meeting with clients or like talking to people about what you do and they have some like pushback on something that you're suggesting, like how do you talk them through like and it kind of explaining your perspective and like why you think it's the right thing to do?
Yeah. So when you're meeting with clients, your priority is to listen first
Mm-hmm.
because everyone has different needs, and I'm the type of person that I could jump in first and say, this is what I think, because I'm so excited and I want them to succeed. It's out of a totally innocent place, but that can come across as I'm just putting you on hold and I'm just going to like throw the textbook at you, right? So I'm learning and focusing on listening first. And when people don't agree with something that I've recommended, it's like, I explain, okay, this is a part of the process. It kind of depends on what it is. But if they're like, I don't really want to focus that much on the content, I want to just push advertising out, then I
Mm-hmm.
would say, well, okay, so your advertising you're not gonna get as much success as you want from that if the actual stuff that you're advertising isn't that good. So you know what I mean? Like, it's using logic, having some grace, having some patience. But honestly, if someone just doesn't agree and someone doesn't want to do the thing that I'm recommending,
And
okay,
you can't
like,
change their mind. Yeah.
no. And
Right.
maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Like, everyone has a different journey and everyone has a different process they have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing that I found right now is watching people wait,
Hmm.
not do anything, or say, I'll do
Explain.
this when I'm
Yeah.
safe
Mm-hmm.
and when I have enough money to do it. And I've learned just from doing YouTube, like, I had to just jump in, and I am so glad I did, because I could have had a million and one excuses not to do it. And then I wouldn't have grown as much as I have this year, and so many things wouldn't have happened. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the hardest part, is like knowing how it feels when you actually are doing the stuff you're meant to do and then watching people not do it. And I'm like, no, it's
Right.
so hard.
Is YouTube something that you're like pushing with clients as well to be creating content on YouTube, or
It
just?
depends. Yeah. One of the things that I always tell people about YouTube is I say, you're going to have success on YouTube if you are focused and you're going to put a lot of effort into it and consistency and just a lot of work, okay? Because YouTube is a lot of work. Like, if you actually want to make anything of it, it is
Mm-hmm.
so much work, okay? And we know this, you
Mm-hmm.
know this from talking to people and all of the
Oh yeah.
interviews. Like, everybody's like, this is a lot of work. It's more work than
Mm-hmm.
anybody ever thinks it is. People are like,
Mm-hmm.
don't you just watch videos? I'm like, no, I make the videos you watch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's always something I recommend because I see the power of YouTube. But I always tell people, so for example, I've got this one person who's like really, really interested in blogging. She's an amazing blogger. I I don't think I ever recommended YouTube to her because she's a writer. She loves writing and
Mm-hmm.
she's a mom. And like, so she's got so many things on her plate. This is what she wants to do. This is her focus. This is where she needs to stay. And
That's her
so many
medium.
people, yeah, exactly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't spread out too much, and that's what people want to do. That's what I want to do. Like, if you try to do too many things at once, and you're going to lose all of it. You're literally going to lose all of it. So you got to focus on like a couple things. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Just depends.
Just depends. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, so for what you like want to be making in the future, like going forward, now that you've taken all these experiences and are learning and building on them, what kind of stuff do you want to be making, or what do you see, like, I guess, the future of your channel or your business? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Um, I'm definitely a goal oriented person, which is good and bad. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends. But I like to have a vision of what I want something to look like, because, if you don't have any vision of the future, if you don't have any idea of what you're wanting to go after, then you're not going to have the energy and the momentum that you need to get anywhere, really. So I what I really want YouTube and like what YouTube has done kind of starting YouTube, one of my goals is I really want to do more public speaking, which sounds so weird because like YouTube, wait.
Right.
I did a lot of public speaking and competitions and things in high school and college. And for me, someone who has a unique story and people are impacted, you really get a lot of impact when you're in the room with people. And I know that from doing that. You lose a little bit of that with video. There are other amazing things that videos can do for you, but it doesn't replace public speaking, just like public speaking doesn't replace a video. They're two different
Sure, yeah.
things. I want to be doing more of that. I really want to travel. I want to meet people. I just want to like form a community, but also meet and hear people's stories, because it's not just my story that's important. Everybody's story is important. You get this. It's so cool to hear people's stories and get to know people and get to know other people's perspectives. So I want to be making the same content I'm making now, but I want it to involve more people than just me, because I think the power comes when your story's amplified when you've got people that are saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I want it to look like. The business, I want it to grow. I want it to get big and just get people on fire for making content, whatever that looks like. Really want to be doing a lot of consulting. I love doing production for people that I know well and people I'm excited about their story and like what they're doing. It can be a lot of busy work and a lot of effort, and I don't know if that's really I feel like I'm good at production, I'm good at editing, but I feel like there's way more impact in sharing and speaking and listening to people. So that's kind of the vision for the future, and it'll change.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I can see how like video and or like creating videos and posting them on social media and public speaking kind of go like hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because it sucks sometimes, but like the way people communicate these days is through these like small devices, and like that's how, right? And like that's how you can get your voice heard, and that leads to the public speaking and like the human and like interaction and community as well. And like I'm trying to do, I'm interested in the same kind of things as well. So just trying to,
the biggest thing right now I feel like is that people, like, for those who watch this and are thinking about starting YouTube again, I feel like it's so important to speak to those people, because those are the people that are like on the edge of doing something really great. Like, now is the time to start doing this, because people are online more than any other time. We don't have like in-person conferences happening. We don't like, everything is online right now. That's where people are. Now is the time to start, and to not let
it's just
fear
going to
control
grow.
you. Like, it's just inevitable. This is what's happening. This is where our world is moving. Everything's moving more online. So there are some things in life that just because everybody's moving that way doesn't mean you move that way. And then there's other things that it's like, move this way or you get, you get lost behind. So yeah,
that's true. So you kind of just answered my, I got one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. But so I'm asking every like creative person that I talk to, if they were to give somebody advice who is looking to start today, like what advice would you give to them?
Yeah. I really think it's all about the person talking in your head, like what they're saying. And normally it's negative, and normally it's saying, you don't have a lot to offer. You're not worth it. People aren't going to listen to you. People aren't going to watch you. And there's other people out there better than you. And that's always it's always what's going on in our heads. Every person, the most confident person, that's what's going on in their heads. And you've got to shut that out, because just like the premise of, traveling perspectives and even starting from zero, like, you have something that's unique, and that is important. And even if there's one person out there that's waiting for you to tell your story or share the content or, get hyped about something, whether it's a skill or an idea, there are people out there waiting for you to take action. So stop thinking about yourself and think about the person next to you. And that's really what YouTube and online content creation and No Small Creator, that's what it's all about, is the person next to you. And it's that one person that says, I needed to hear this, or I needed to see this. It's about that person.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And I'm excited to see like the growth in your personal growth and and how that translates to your growth on YouTube. And I'm going to keep trying to, keep those negative vibes out as well.
Yeah,
And
just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So it was really cool to meet you, and I'm super appreciative of all the support, and I'm excited that we got to finally do this.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be great. I'm excited to see where you go too. You got some great people you've been interviewing. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Starting From Zero podcast. A special thank you to Katie for sharing her story. And if you want to check out Katie's content, you can find her online at Katie G. Stowe. You can find more content from the Starting From Zero project on social media at Starting From Zero. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.